reset right before 2020. Then suddenly the whole world gets shoved into a new normal.
Right? So suddenly AI has turned every Wi-Fi router into a camera that can work in the dark.
History of slave ships being brought over from Africa. History is his story. Right. What about my story?
What's up, YouTube? Today, we'll be looking at disturbing TikToks that'll make you question reality. So without further ado, welcome to Adam Strain Reacts. Let's get her done.
Pop quiz. Which of these statements is true? Eggs raise your cholesterol. You need 8 glasses of water a day. Milk builds strong bones and teeth. Trick question. None of those are true. Diamonds are rare, right? No, they're not. Depression comes from a chemical imbalance in the brain. Nope. Now, these aren't mistakes or outdated science. These are psychological operations, psyops.
How many times do you think they've actually reset society? That question sounds crazy until you start seeing the pattern they keep trying to hide. Klaus Schwab was already talking about a great reset right before 2020. Then suddenly the whole world gets shoved into a new normal. And if you zoom out a little, you start noticing something uncomfortable. This isn't the first time a reset has been pushed. Look at history. We lost Egypt's advanced knowledge. We lost the Library of Alexandria. We lost whole civilizations like Tartaria, just wiped from the record like they never existed. Every time humanity gets close to waking up, close to remembering what we once knew, something happens, and the slate gets wiped clean. No memories, no context, no explanation. That's why people call us a species with amnesia. We're here, but we have no idea how we got here or what came before us, because someone keeps hitting the reset button. And here's the strange part. 2020 wasn't just a reset attempt, it was also a wake-up call. If life hadn't been disrupted, a lot of people who were completely asleep would have stayed asleep forever. Humans run on routine. As long as the routine feels safe, we don't question anything. But when they try to force massive change, they risk waking people up, which is exactly what happened. And now they're trying to shove everyone back.
Yeah, I do agree with a lot of what he was saying. And also, he was talking about Klaus Schwab from the WEF. He did come out with the book, The Great Reset, but if you look at his book that came out before, I think it was 2016, 2017, I'm not sure. It was called The Fourth Industrial Revolution, and basically you could see pretty much everything that he was talking about happened today, which has to do with the mechanization of production and AI and this and that. And just for an example, the leader of where I'm from, when he came back from Davos, he said, we will be ready for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And then when 2020 came along, all the prohibitions, all the rules, all those things were enforced times 100. So I wouldn't be surprised that there's sort of this link, you know. And yeah, so if you guys have the opportunity, check out that book. It's called The Fourth Industrial Revolution. I think you'll like it. Have a good one. Let's keep on rocking.
Bird lands on the branch. Does the bird trust the branch or does it trust its wings? And the clue, I've seen many birds land on branches, but what I've never seen is a branch break and the bird fall and die. Trust your wings.
Wow.
So I recently watched a video and they were talking about how their favorite color is the teal color in between a thick pane of glass. And I feel like the blue color of the triangle inside of Magic 8 Balls is another niche rare color because you only really see it when an object is submerged in deep water. Also, that glossy orangey brown that you get when terracotta gets wet is another example of a very beautiful transient color that you only get to see in certain conditions. And then you have the pink and purple hues in bubbles, and I totally get that bubbles reflect every color in the spectrum, but the pink and purple stand out in a way that makes me understand why force fields are purple in most movies. But the color of molten glass is by far one of the best rare colors because it's next to impossible for a tactile object to be this color without lighting it up or burning it up. And that shiny gray color that you get when you heavily apply graphite to a piece of paper is so nice. It's one of the few cases where a color is glossy and matte at the same time. And I always wonder what the name of the color of like old school cell phone and calculator screens was, and it's called Celadon, and honestly it looks like a breath of fresh air. Then there's the blue color of the backlight in these like old school watches, which made me feel like I needed to hold my breath, just very nostalgic, and I honestly felt like a spy kid every single time I used one of these.
Stop scrolling, because I'm about to show you the scariest video you've seen today. Maybe of all time. These are the things that they can do with AI. This is why we're so cooked, fam. We're already so cooked. Here you go, have a listen. Enjoy the nightmares.
They did is they had a camera looking at a space with people in it. That's sort of like coming in from one eye. The other eye is the radio signals, so sonar from the Wi-Fi router. And they just learned to predict, like, this is where the human beings are. Then they took away the camera. So all the AI had was the language of radio signals bouncing around a room. And this is what they're able to reconstruct. Real-time 3D pose estimation, right? So suddenly AI has turned every Wi-Fi router into a camera that can work in the dark, specially tuned for tracking living beings. So what they did is they had, a camera.
Don't forget about that guy in China who says that Chinese companies are already controlling brain waves through radio signals technology. Have a good night.
All this started with a guy named Edward Bernays. He was the guy that invented the term PR, and he changed the term from propaganda to public relations. He's the reason our butter or margarine got dyed yellow. He's the reason that we think bacon is part of an American breakfast, because the pork industry needed to sell more bacon. He's the reason the Department of War was changed to the Department of Defense. He's the reason that women started smoking Virginia Slims back in the 70s when it was inappropriate for women to smoke. So he organized a parade called Torches of Freedom, where women would go and smoke in the street and just say F you to everybody. So he was the biggest propagandist probably in the last 400 or 500 years in the world. This guy invented all of these processes to shape perception and change how people behave. And he was actually Sigmund Freud's nephew.
The British royal family has been flat-lie royal since 1840.
Explain that.
Flat-lie royal means... So, from the Battle of Waterloo, the British royal family lost all their money, and they've been funded by in exchange for breeding rights. So they had the breeding rights to the British royal family from 1819 to 2019.
So what was the purpose of the needing this?
The British royal family were virtually bankrupt from 1815. So funded the British royal family in exchange for breeding the royals. So the whole British royal family are So what I did in my legal documents is I exposed King George V of England as being sired by Tsar Alexander III of Russia, and I exposed Queen Elizabeth II as sired by artificial insemination by Winston Churchill, who was actually the illegitimate son of King Edward VII.
Did you see that route? Hold on, let me zoom in. That's the route for them to get from the Earth to the moon. Do you see what we live in? Do you see what we live in? Do you see the same picture that I'm looking at right now? This is Holly Weird faking moon landings, and then this is the route for them to get from the Earth to the moon. Basically, it's got two circles and something long. That's the best way to describe it. This makes me laugh. Look at that imprint right there. That's a moon imprint into Nevada sand right there. So when they say they had the moon landing and there's the imprint of his foot, there's the imprint. They flew up there in that little junky tinker toy, basically device, flew up there and then they put their feet into the moon. That's what they're telling people. In his funny suit, pretending like he went to space. Here you go. And it's funny because Bill in this book talked about how this...
What really bothers me about a lot of the conspiracy stuff I see on here every day is that none of it is as weird as the real stuff that goes on. For example, I want you to imagine you run into a guy who says, I just found a massive secret government facility. They were wheeling in huge crates of rotting meat, and inside they were feeding it to millions and millions of flesh-eating maggots that they were intentionally breeding. You would immediately assume he is either deranged or just made up the most disgusting story he could think of. In reality, he merely ran across the facility where the USDA breeds millions and millions of flesh-eating screw worms so that they can load them into planes and carpet bomb the rainforest with them. 15 million worms a week. Why in the world would they do that? Good question. There's a wonderful article in The Atlantic called America's Never-Ending Battle Against Flesh-Eating Worms. The screw worms are actually the larvae of this fly, and these things actually used to be common in the United States. If an animal gets any kind of a cut or wound or abrasion, these flies land on it and lay their eggs. The larvae screw themselves down into the flesh and start eating it right off the animal's bones. They would create huge, horrific wounds, and yes, sometimes they infected people. For example, there was once a horrific screwworm outbreak in a penal colony in South America. So they came up with a plan to eradicate these monsters. They noticed that the female flies only mate once, so if you introduce a fly to a sterile male, that fly will never have offspring, meaning they needed to flood the zone with sterile male flies. They wound up building a factory in Texas where they could breed 200 million of these flies a week. And again, the offspring feed on meat, so they had to bring in any kind of animal flesh they could get their hands on. But it worked. The population of the flies plummeted in the United States, and they continued the program in Mexico, working their way down, pushing the flies back. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Ideas like this is why the world needs creepy weirdos.
Oh my lord. Like you said, truth is stranger than fiction. If I would have told you off the bat that the government is breeding I don't know how many millions and dropping them into the Amazon, I don't think anyone will believe me, you know? It's pretty crazy to see all of these, operations that they've been doing throughout the years. These are the ones that get released to us. These are the ones that, we get disclosure on. But I mean, imagine all of the other ones that we don't see. It's pretty crazy. Did you guys know about that? Are there any other similar type of operations that you heard about? Let me know down below. And let's keep on rocking.
So here we go. You ready? Nicotine alone is known to over 500 different. And I have the medical textbooks, and every year it has been published to do so for every one of those conditions. So if you think you know more than I do, you must have read those textbooks plus more. If you're going to complain and write some weird comment to Laban's platform, don't do that until you read that stuff.
They say every major holiday lines up with one of the 7 deadly sins, and once you lay them out clean, it stops sounding crazy and starts sounding intentional. Take the easy one first, Valentine's Day. That's lust. No debate there. The whole thing is built around desire, attraction, obsession, selling intimacy back to you with a price tag. Thanksgiving is gluttony, and that one's obvious too. It's not about gratitude anymore. It's about excess, overeating, taking more than you need, bragging about how stuffed you are, like that's the point. Now, what about Christmas? That is greed, and people hate hearing that, but look around. Endless consumption, more gifts, bigger gifts, credit card debt dressed up as tradition, and somehow the birth it's supposed to represent becomes background noise. Easter is the one people don't expect. Envy. The story goes that jealousy is what led to betrayal and execution, resentment turning into violence, and that theme gets quietly buried under candy and pastel colors. St. Patrick's Day lines up with sloth, not rest, sloth, numbing yourself, blacking out, checking out of responsibility, and calling it celebration. Halloween fits wrath, masks, fear, controlled chaos, enjoying shock and harm for fun, even if it's symbolic. Now here's the uncomfortable part. If every holiday pulls a specific weakness to the surface, then maybe they're not random celebrations. Maybe they're pressure valves, scheduled releases for impulses that never really go away. You can call it coincidence if you want, but it's interesting how predictable human behavior becomes when you wrap it in tradition and call it harmless.
This is just a theory, not a fact.
6'7" is demonic. 6-7, a meme kids can't get enough of and teachers can't get away from.
We are not saying the word 6-7 anymore.
Some schools even banning the phrase in classrooms.
You are no longer allowed to say, what number do you think I'm going to say?
6-7. All day, every day.
The trend took off a few months ago, but has re-intensified with school back in session. Thought to originate from a rap song by Skrilla. Experts we spoke to say the numbers really don't mean anything.
It's like slang to like make parents be like, what does that mean?
6-7 is a demonic chant that you guys have your kids involved with, and if your kids are doing it, you need to stop them right now. This is Skrilla. This guy's the reason your kids are saying 6-7 from a song he made called Doot Doot. Skrilla is into demonic worship. He is a santero. He's into Palo Mayumbe. And the Doot Doot or 6-7 song is literally a chant and summoning the spirits that he operates in.
I'm a santo. I do Palo. Santo.
What's that mean exactly?
Like all that sacrificing goats and all that shit not just for like, that's just real life.
You sacrifice a goat?
Sacrifice goats, chickens, mice. Like, I do shit for certain shit though. Like, I'm not allowed to explain it.
That take y'all in my Godfather crib so he can show y'all some shit with my religion. Yeah.
Follow me. Starts off with Elegua, which is the path opener, Ogun, Ochosi, Shango, Aigayu, Ochun.
Yeah, like you can put bad spirits on people too. Like you can put a person's name and like their birthday and shit like that inside the, you could put them inside the Agun pot. And then Agun like metal, like they can get shot, stabbed, something can happen to them.
So it would be something in metal that would.
I heard it from him. He's in Santeria. He worships demons and he summons demons into people to harm people. In specific, he worships Ogun and Yemeya, which number 6 is Ogun in the song and number 7 in Santeria represents Yemeya, which is exactly what he is saying in the songs, and now your kids are chanting it. It's a reason he used the baby shark theme. There's a reason that your kids feel addicted and like they can't stop saying 6-7, and in the songs it's nothing but pills, drugs, and addiction. Jesus Christ could save witches and people out of witchcraft, and I pray that Skrilla gets radically saved from witchcraft and Santeria in Jesus' name, like many people are coming out of that false religion. It is demonic, it is witchcraft, and Satan is trying to feed witchcraft to lost individuals who need an identity and are vulnerable. They're seeking control, power, knowledge, money, fame, and Satan will love to give it to you in exchange for your soul. But the Bible is clear that the blessings of God come with joy, but the blessings of Satan come with sorrow. Only thing that follows witchcraft is destruction and death. Take your kids, repent and renounce with them, and get 6-7 out of your house in Jesus' name.
What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about the whole 6-7 thing? Do you guys think it's ridiculous or making something out of nothing, or is there something behind it? For me, to be honest, I tried to listen to the song, I wasn't able to. Like, for me, when you're off beat, I just can't deal with it. You know, the rhyme scheme was bad. It wasn't really saying much, so I don't really understand. But if anyone understands, let me know. But what do you guys think about that? Do you guys think that there's something nefarious there, or it's just what it is? But at the same time, should the kids be listening to that song? Are they listening to that song? Let me know if you guys think that, I don't know if it's demons or this or that, but let me know what you guys think down below. Let's keep on rocking.
Majority of African Americans that lived here were brought over here.
No,
that's
not economically sound.
What do you mean by it's not economically sound?
So what I'm saying is, people were already here. Does it make sense to go all the way to this other continent to bring people on a boat when we know that half of your stock is gonna die? You wouldn't do that.
So how many people do you think were brought over from Africa on slave ships? Because that definitely happened.
I don't believe it.
What do you mean you don't believe it?
I don't believe that story. You think this whole land was empty? No, there were natives here.
Right.
But today we're taught that natives are some other people. No, natives are the melanated African being that has come here since the beginning of the Mali Empire. We're talking about 14th, 13th century. We had already come here from Africa.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had already come here. You know, maybe people were brought over as slaves, but I don't think that the black people in America came from Africa on slave ships. I believe the people that were here were slowly conquered. First they got the East Coast, and then they started spreading out west little by little, conquering. And when you conquer a tribe, what do? You enslave them. They're POWs. right?
Okay.
That's what you do.
But I'm still confused. There's a great history of slave ships being brought over from Africa.
History is his story.
Right.
What about my story? Is my story not valid?
But if you do 23andMe on from out,
23andMe?
Well, that's
either way. If you take black people here in America and you do their DNA sample and it point back to Africa, what does that say? It says black people in America are Africans. Now, the argument is, were we brought here or were we already here? Did we bring ourselves here or did the white man bring us here? You see, when you say the white man brought us here, what you're doing is you're removing our ability to transport ourselves. You're saying, oh, we didn't know anything about boats. That's what you're trying to tell me. You're trying to tell me that we didn't know that there was a landmass here. Go look at the primary source. You got here, we met black people. We got the Caribbean, we met black people. You think the Caribbean is right next to America and they weren't in America?
That's interesting.
Doesn't make any sense. I mean, when you go and you look at real European history, right, would believe that if they took a bath, that was bad.
Right.
They didn't even want to change their clothes. They thought that dirty was purity. When we talk about the Moors going into Spain and into Europe, the stories in the history, our history, says that when we met the so-called Caucasian, he was sleeping in the barn with the animals, and we told him, no, you can't sleep in the barn with animals. We taught them etiquette. We taught them running water. We brought that technology to Europe. Now, if we brought the technology to Europe that saved Europe from the Black Plague, you mean to tell me that if we saved the white race, that we weren't already in America already? When we brought the technology? When Rome was dependent on Africa for food? Remember when the Black Plague hit Rome? The cause was one of the officials was stealing the grain that was coming from Africa. So there was famine, hit Rome. If your source of sustenance is from Africa, how are you superior? You're not. You get your food from me. So if you get your food from me, who's more likely to travel this globe? Me, I'm the source of food. And that's the first thing you need to survive on this planet.
I know it's a touchy subject and it's not something that we see a lot, but it was something that I had put into my subconscious without really having any proof of it, and it's kind of a rabbit hole, but it's pretty interesting. Like he said, you know, the difference is self-determination. You're sort of taking away all of the great empires that existed before, because in our mind it's as if everything started with, I don't know, France or England, but at the same time, you know, there's been empires all over the place in Africa, seafaring civilizations, you know, the Phoenicians. There's just so many of them. So is it that crazy to think about that? Another thing that I had heard is that there's actually no like slave ships or like wreckages that they have, basically, that we don't see any of them. And what he was saying kind of made sense. You know, how are you going to move all those people for months and months inside of a dark place? You're going to lose half your cargo. Very interesting. All of this is super interesting. I have no idea what the ultimate truth of the past is, but I just find it something interesting, something that I had rarely questioned. So that's why I like going down rabbit holes of things that I haven't yet reformalized an idea on. So anyways, thank you so much for reaching the end with me. And that's a wrap for today, familia. Whether you're tuning in with the sunrise or you're posted up after midnight, I appreciate your time, your energy, your curiosity. And don't forget, this isn't about truth or fiction. This is about perspective. If this sparked a thought, a laugh, a deeper question, then we did our job. So drop your thoughts in the comments, keep the convo alive, like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell if you're riding a wave, because we're just getting started. Until next time, stay grounded, stay weird, stay critical. I'm Adam Strain, and this has been Adam Strain Reacts. Peace!
I don't know what y'all think, but now's the time for us to link up. Really think we on the brink up, making a change from living this strange. Living this strange. Making a change from living this strange.